Alright, I don't know how I'm gonna start this, but welcome to the Real Talk podcast because this is titled after my last current video while I work on really animated shit. And talking about animation, I've always been kind of a perfectionist in everything I do, or everything I try to comprehend. And that leads to quite the big, heavy amounts of discussions, nonsensical stuff that I say from time to time, and even then sometimes hurting relationships because I'm trying and so obsessed with understanding something to the core point so that I can basically perfect it, to say the least. And that happens with my current voice that I'm talking to you right now, with the animations and videos that I work for, with the scripts that I rewrite every single time that I do anything, the way that I speak, the way that I sit, the way that I look at people, and how I dress up my hair in different chemicals, and the way that I do basically my writing on paper and hand and pen, the way that I draw. I always seek. I search and seek for the perfection that is essentially infallible to just get, not only in a literal empathetic manner or just like a genuine way. If you reach perfection or you strive to reach perfection, that's probably a bad thing, at least in my point of view. That might be a bit controversial now that I've said it out loud, especially due to things like speedrunning and chess tournaments. Perfecting a craft is interesting. It's something that keeps you going, but it's also something that breaks you. Striving for perfection or achieving a sense of actual, genuine content with yourself, especially in the situation that I'm in, is like trying to go into the sea and sail off into French land with only a boat that powers through a charger. It's just essentially impossible. And this leads to a lot of projects overdue of me saying, if I keep doing this, I'm probably gonna get mad at myself for not getting this thing right. And when I actually push myself to do it, I'm pushed away by other things that are or look better. I've dropped, started, and just dumped so many projects that are of such interest and such good ideas, but I never get around to making them because I'm waiting for the time which I'm gonna be good at something. Or good at the thing that I'm making that thing on or about. I had this idea in my mind once of making a podcast with a bunch of voice actors, including myself, just for the sake of uploading it stuff or just general improvement of said craft, in which I would get like a bunch of voice actors every time, like it would change the voice actors and who like they were, because I'm not gonna stick with the same five people. That would be way too boring. I want to show some like new faces onto the earth and show their talent. So what I would do is probably like schedule up at least 10 episodes of like an hour to 2 hours, or maybe even 3 or 5 if we decide to it. And we would all play a different character each session. And the way this would work is that the audience had to, according to who they thought was the person, understand the conversation. So it would be like a game of, oh, I think this person is this, but then some person would say, oh yeah, but they did this role and it kind of looks similar to this. So you would actually see the improvement and the general like work the voice actors have done to distinguish themselves from their actual voices and to replicate others. You could make a brand new character, you can rip someone's character off, but you cannot do yours because that would be too obvious. So it would be like this little game of 10 episodes in which you have about like 20 hours of full footage to figure out who's who. And the credits wouldn't say like who's who on the voice. So you would just have like an introduction spelled out by a a random caster saying, "Today we're with like." All right, I'm gonna make it. Today's episode, we've got insert this voice actor, insert this voice actor, insert this voice actor, and insert this voice actor. Now, let's get on with the show. And like this, it wouldn't even say the names. Like it would put it on the names of the voice actors would be on the description, but the caster would just say, "Today we're with like the Green Goblin" or some shit. Like it would just be random characters. And then it would just be like a fun game to realize upon that. And I might try that out now that I'm actually getting into voice acting, which is pretty like minacular. You can do it at any time and it doesn't take really like that much effort to practice. You don't have to be in a booth and then like practice it again and again and again. You can do it whenever you want, however and how long you want, without actually having to sit down and do this, because otherwise you get nothing done. And that might seem like a bit of an interesting topic, which I might explain upon later. As you can tell, I'm moving between thought to thought to thought because my mind can never focus on a single thing. I'm always moving and I'm always making images up in my head. I always keep making these scenarios and then I reference those scenarios which nobody has any idea what I'm talking about on. Which makes these scenarios where I'm saying something that makes complete and utter like sense, and it's kind of funny in my own mind with the context, but then I say it out loud without actually saying what the reference or thing is because I just invented it. So it just sounds like completely out of place. And sometimes I just don't know what is happening and I never know like what is right or wrong to say in a specific situation. That's why I have like to make these pauses to say, is this good to say? Is that bad to say? Am I overjudging? Am I trying to understand way too much? It's a problem with trying to perfect the body or a craft. I cannot do it because I always think I want to make this idea when I actually can do it because I don't want to be like any other trace of it. So it can be more like a grandiose thing instead of just like a redo of the thing that went badly now looking actually good. So it's a weird balance between that and other things. I had also this idea of making a thing called logical solutions. I think most of you watched the trailer for it. If you didn't, that's fine. You don't have to worry about it. But essentially, what happened was I thought of making like this. It was actually called Backdoored News at the start, but then I made logical solutions. That was a outspring of it, which was me taking like news from the 1990s about like everything that was happening around that time, except actual like genuine bad happenings, because I'm not gonna go that much into realism at the expenses of people's genuine like genuine like situations or bad stuff that has happened, unless it's widely known and not just like a celebrity nobody knows about, because some people who do know that celebrity might be mad at me for actually getting that realistic or in those situations. So it would be kind of that, and it would be shown from the perspective of a person actively using Windows 95 to find all this and then putting up a video, and then it would end and they would shut down their computer, and like there would be a whole world within these person they would be talking, but at the end of the video, when they shut their computer or they're about to shut their computer off, they start to talk and they start to like say, "Oh yeah, come on," stuff like that. Talking about Backdoored News, just for a little bit of context, Backdoored News is such a good idea, and I am going to do it. I just need to have time and not be a fucking perfectionist. Everything takes its time, and I know that, but it's hard to look at something and then say, this could be so much better. I'm gonna research how to make it better, and then because I'm researching it way too much, or I'm doing absolutely nothing because I think it looks like trash, I end up getting nothing done. But Backdoor News, that I am definitely going to do. after probably these like series or like era, if you will, of videos on my channel, I will get you notified. It's probably gonna be on my different channel, called, I don't remember what it's called. I'm putting up over a GX right now to check it out. But essentially, it is this like channel of mine that I have, not the music one. The music one is another thing. But I have this channel called Lay Awake, which starts from Wiley, which was originally Wyllay for some reason, and I said it was Willie, and then I just call it Wiley because so many people started calling it that, and I say, why lay upon those questions, and why not call myself Wiley? Ironically so. But logical solutions, I already talked about that. This thing, Backdoored news. If you don't want to have any spoilers for the series when I eventually do it, you can skip to whatever thing is on the screen right now. And let's get on with it. So, Backdoored news. My god, I love this idea that I had of mine. This was around where Local 58 and the Mandela catalog were like the biggest bloom of the century. Essentially, they were like everywhere around. They got millions of views, especially Local 58. I remember watching it like for a bit. Then the Mandela catalog hit, and I was like, oh my god, I can't watch this. And now recently I've watched it, and I only got scared at least once because there was an actual threat instead of the typical like formula it has. And it was right after watching like an actually kind of genuinely scary, really shitty, by the way. I think the scares were like not on purpose, but it just gets you off guard from how like cryptic and newbie it is, and then all of a sudden it hits you with the fucking scares. It's made by Mr. Nightmare, a friend of mine I found because I we essentially became friends because he found my like YouTube channel through a Team Fortress 2 video that I did, and then he put a clip on from my video on his video, and then we started talking on YouTube or some no on like from YouTube to Discord, and we became friends and shit. Then a I think friend of his did the series, and he helped edit it along the lines of that. And it's genuinely like it's long, it's formatic, but once you get to like episode 8 or 10, the formula switches out because the formula that I've seen also with Mandela catalog is you have like a normal-ish portion, like some information or data, world building, etc. And then you have a cut or a like anomaly on the thing. It's not usually on like a pattern like a rule of thirds or anything, but it happens every time. And then it like cuts back to normal for a second, and then the actual like portion that is made for world building, and then there's horror. What happens on Mr. Nightmare's thing is he starts off with the same formula. You got like a person exploring the Gmod backrooms or some shit, like a Gmod map on the backrooms, until all of a sudden it cuts, and then there's disturbing like audio actively coming out of the speakers for like I don't know why. You get a view of something, and then it starts building tension up, and then the like person gets actively away, and the music's still popping like off, and then it slows down, and then it cuts to like more exploring or the end of the actual chapter or episode, until on like I think it was episode 6 or 7, they just said, all right, flip formula, everything is world building and the scares are not accompanied by music, you're just being stalked and actively followed at max speed. It's like, it's a human. It's not even like a backrooms monster, which was the original whole ordeal of the whole thing. It's always like a mob or something. But in this episode, it's a human, and they're actively chasing at you at Mach 10, and there's no like intense music until you where you're actively fucking running, where it doesn't cut. It just comes in with the sound, and it never stops until like half of the way through, where it actively slows down because you actively got away from it, but you can still see it on the corners sometimes. It's glorious, and it genuinely gives you a spook. The only episode I think Mandela Catalog has made me purposely say, I don't want to watch this, I want to look away, I'm stressed, was probably the last episode they've done, where there's like a police officer actively jumping out the window to escape a monster who's coming near, who doesn't take effect in gun like fire. And what you think is of the lore and shit, but what I think of is, my god, they finally know how to run from that. And the scary part about it is that in one shot, it was only one shot that actively said, oh my god! It was the one in which you're in the perspective of the police or like detective, in which there's just a thing clangling through with their head on the side, not even moving, just coming towards you, actively doing disturbing like sounds and stuff. It's a really well composited like scare, but it's a bit of a weak one because it then switches to an outside point of view, and then makes you think about the lore more than actually being scared. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think if you're trying to get scared, don't watch the Mandela Catalog. Watch something that was made to be purposely scary more than actively make you, oh my god, these things are everywhere. My goodness, how did people not know about this? How is nobody doing anything about this? Like, it makes you question, but it doesn't make you genuinely scary, you know? Backdoored news, on the other hand, is focused mainly on the aspect of kind of like horror, to say the least, more than not psychologically intensive. It's kind of like a combination of both genuinely trying to be scary and both trying to build a world to make you like invested on it. So as you can tell by the two words on the thing, backdoored news. If you know what a backdoor is, you already know what I'm going, but if you don't know, a backdoor is essentially a second access or an like unproven access to a specific or either service, job, or like building, essentially information or places. It's a second mostly like on this purpose illegal to get onto a place to do something, to enter or access something, whereby that be information, a service, a building, etc. And news is just essentially that. The whole premise of it is, it doesn't say who, but the news broadcast, who, it doesn't say it's from Backdoor News or something. That's just like the name. There's this news broadcast being publicly shown on like television or something. It's a channel essentially, and it's got a schedule and everything. Ever from like the VHS era, because I'm overly obsessed with old technology to try and understand it better, to build my own eventually, because I like building stuff. I like making stuff work and then be proud that, oh my god, I made this. I can customize it as much as I want, and I can show whatever the hell I want in this, having essentially control over that. So this news broadcast essentially gets news or information or like stuff to point out from an unknown source, who's like, is essentially the guy leaking GTA 6 right now. They get the information from like places that are not, to say the least, mostly legally allowed or considerably ethical. For example, I had this like scene in my mind for a bit, which was the broadcast would start like, introduction of the podcast by a narrator or some shit. Sitting on a desk or like news route scene, and those like CNN or some shit with a big screen on the background. And then it would switch to like a format of more like just a voice. And it would say like, Sup, news have come in that Subway is planning to rise the price of their sandwiches by $5 without telling its customers. And it would be like just general, like non-logical stuff, then graduating to like Pringles is on a deal of market share with Free Fire, which is getting kinda heated, as Pringles does not have the requirements to allege with the China developing studios requirements. But they've already taken the money or something along the lines of that, and then it would just switch through in like the least expected moments. In like a 0.5 second or some shit. No, what is it? 0.37 seconds. And it would just be like, oh, this is just in. It seems like the government is actively hiding this specific and very concerning fact away from the user. We do not know much about this creature, but here are some previews. And it would be like genuine just fucking like government documents and shit. I had a plan to do stuff like that, but I'm probably gonna have to improvise the like actual set with stuff I have in my room or build it my own on our yard, because the lighting in there is pretty nice. And kind of like along the lines of that, and then it would be like just a news broadcast being publicly like live streamed. It would not be some like video series or some shit. You had to or either be there or not be there. And then some like weird guy would probably do that. But if enough people like ask for it, we would probably like put up a watch the previous live streams, but nothing was cut, and it would be like hours long, like an actual news broadcast, probably like from 9 to 3, and then the second part would be later from 3 to 18 or some shit, and it's just a video playing. And that's all. That would just be outright glorious in my opinion. And that's what I'm planning to do. Hello. I saw you skip the whole thing, so good on you, because this is 20 minutes long already. God damn. And you can already tell this is going off way too much into ambition. Like, what I said just now, what my plans are, and what I'm doing is overly ambitious to the point it's nonsensically impossible. But I still want to do it. But between having school, between drives of crises instead of my own goddamn like personal life, and just general mood swings while I work on videos, I'm probably gonna see you all in a kind of long time. Let's say about a month from now. I'm probably gonna finish this like XM week that's coming up. Literally just days, 2 days from now, and I'll probably get on working on the actual like videos. It's 2 videos. If you wanna know the titles for a little bit of a sneak peek, it's Woolworths is amazing, or something relating to Woolworths is, or the most underrated Hypixel game mode, but that would be way too specific, so I'm probably gonna make it about Woolworths. Or Minecraft's like most underrated game mode, and then I would probably say it like this or that, or whatever. Game mode would not be a good idea for Minecraft, so I know I've changed to that now. But the other one is aerial engineering from the Team Fortress 2, son of a bitch. Now, let me tell you a little bit something, Scout. I'm a goddamn bad voice actor. God damn it, I'm 14. I can't do this goddamn voice acting shit like a Texan, alright? I just can't do it. How much bread did you teleport? Or stuff like that. It's about aerial engineering. Aerial engineering? What's aerial engineering, you may be asking? Now, aerial engineering, to say the least, is just a compilation of me having some fun with engineer. Like, it would be kind of like a stuff, but I wanted to have like an animated SFM like stuff at the start, but it's mostly like a joke video with a little bit of explanation on a funny gimmick that I like, and some people don't, especially people who play on those maps. I'm sorry if I've done anything to you as playing engineer, but essentially you go all the way up, no like no like sentry jumping, because you're gonna die the way of like damage and snipers being there. Demos sticky jumping to the top just to fall down and get some crits. So essentially just engineer, go all the way up into the top of high tower, which takes 2 minutes or about 5 to even get there, by the way. If you get killed, you start over again. So it's actively punishing. And then you have like, oh yeah, you reach there. So what you do is you put a teleporter on like the active gaps between it, because otherwise it's visible and demos will fucking destroy it, because why not? Why wouldn't you destroy that? So you set it there. You grab the Eureka effect or some shit. You build everything you need. You like have it all. You gotta start with the jag. Like you build up, you go up with the jag, or the, let's say the jag or the gunslinger for surviving like matchups with stuff would be nice as well. But you wouldn't be able to build a sentry outright, so take as you will. Then you kill bind. You switch to the Eureka effect. Switch to the Eureka effect, the Rescue Ranger, and the Wrangler. And then what you do is essentially sentry jump over to an invisible spot that for some reason just exists there. There's like 2 spots. There's one above, and there's another one on the mirror top. So you essentially do that. Grab your exit with the with the Rescue Ranger. Then you put it there. Grab your teleporter, crouch jump up to the other side. You set up everything there. You build your level 3 if you want. Then you can also kill bind and switch to the Frontier Justice if you are going all ham after placing it. So you drop down from the fucking skies, and on some servers, especially on high tower servers, just normal higher tower servers, the skyboxes are just gone. So you can build on top of the roofs on the enemy spawn. So you just place a level 3 over there. Eureka effect. Maybe go back to your spawn, switch to the Frontier Justice. Then go back there, see the kills come until it eventually goes down. You build another one. You drop down with the sentry, put it down, and run at some random guy with the crits you just got. It's so fucking addicting. I don't know why. The World Wars one is more than not educational, and I've got some pretty interesting and not like shitty ideas like the engineer video. But if you like stuff like the engineer video that I just described, I'll be sure to make some. Thanks for watching my rants about projects and why I cannot get anything done. I don't know where I'm going this. I just talked like for 30 minutes about random shit. I always get distracted whenever I do any like kind of talks with people. So, hope you enjoyed this. If you did not, that's good for you, because you probably clicked already out. This is probably going to be the first out of 10 things, because this is the easiest way to waste my time and to actually talk to people about stuff. And if you want to hear the voice actor podcast, let me know, because I actually want to make that. And if you don't want to watch it, I'm gonna make it anyways, but on the other account. Because goddamn, that idea is way too good for me to pass it off on. Anyhow, it's been a pleasure 30 minutes.